Today we're going to paint cranberry juice in a clear mug, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So let's get started. Alright, this is speeded up to 4 times as fast as I usually work. I am using my 1.5 inch wide brush for most of the painting, and near the end I switched to my 1 inch brush. And that's because I want to find only big shapes. The first thing I do is mix up a neutral gray for my background. I want all of the background to be gray. Not matching to the picture, but I know I want it to be neutralized. And in order to make gray, that's typically for me it's cerulean blue, a permanent rose, and Naples yellow. And when it comes around the cup, it's a little bit warmer, so I add some more Naples yellow to it. You can see it just shifts a little bit. Doesn't change in value it anymore in any way. Next thing I do is I take Naples yellow watered down and put it anywhere that I know I want to keep spots white. That's going to preserve the white of my paper. I don't use white out. I use this instead. Otherwise, I'll just run right over these spots. Now I'm trying to figure out probably what the shadow is underneath the cup, but I'm not sure. Oh, I know what I did. The next thing I wanted to do was find the most saturated color spots in the painting, which were, they were light, but they were also very red, almost orange, and I wanted them to be really, really saturated. So I'm putting them in as placeholders. So the first thing, actually everything I've done so far is a placeholder. The gray in the background is placeholding my neutral. And then the Naples yellow is holding the place for my whites. And then that bright orange reddish is going to hold the place for my saturated color. The next place I saw saturated color was a little bit of blue, which was showing up in the handle. And I don't know what that's from. I think it might be from the sky. But that's the fun thing about glass. Things show up. Things show up that you don't know are going to show up. Now what I did get rid of, there's a certain amount of editing where the handle meets the mug. I left all of that out because it's confusing. Anything that I wasn't sure about, I wasn't going to paint. I'm only going to paint stuff that I'm absolutely sure that I can see and can describe. Next thing is that shadow underneath the mug. I can see that it's darker. Not much darker, but a little bit darker. So I want to get that in. But this is still, for the most part, preliminary stuff. I would call this mostly blocking in. Now, I make that sound like it's not important, when actually it's super important because everything's going to build from here. So I'm very plugged in at this point. I'm paying a lot of attention. Inside the mug, it's lighter. It doesn't look like it in the photograph, but when I squint my eyes, it is. So I needed to add some yellow to my gray. It's the same gray as the background, but I made it lighter with some yellow. And in order to make things lighter, we don't have the option of using white. So if I use water, things are not going to be saturated. So I would prefer to have tip my color toward warmth using a little bit of Naples yellow or a tiny, tiny bit of cadmium yellow if I can. The next place is mixing enough pigment for the main parts of what appear in the cup. This took a lot of time. Boy, it was just so hard. I need to have a big pile of paint. And no matter what I did every time, does this happen to you? You mix a big pile of paint and you turn around to start your painting and it seems to be gone or it retracts. I can't figure out where it goes. It probably goes on the brush is my best guess. But it's the strangest thing. And now having a 1.25 inch brush means I have to mix more paint. So I got this far, and then I know that the phone rang, so there's going to be a little bit of gap. Something happened. I didn't answer the phone, but if I'm doing that and videoing at the same time, it makes the video stop. I've learned that the hard way, so I stopped the camera and then turned it back on. And there's probably going to be a little bit of a lag between what I'm actually doing on the canvas now and what the palette cam is doing, because just a few seconds can throw everything off from being in sync. But this is done quickly, just so that you can see basic big value shapes going in. I've done some slower videos of painting glass where I've described everything that happens, but that's not what we're doing here today. We're kind of looking at the big shapes that are going in using this big brush. Mostly big brush, I should say. I would say by now almost everything is blocked in. Now, what I should have done at this point is what I say every single time. I should have gotten up, walked away, come back when it was dry, but I didn't want to do that because I felt like my painter brain was starting to plug in. I was starting to not think about anything other than color. And if I'm starting to feel like I'm in painting brain, then I want to stay there. So I stuck with this, even though by this time I had been sitting for quite a bit of time. I think this whole painting, even though it is only an 8 by 8 inch painting, took 38 or 40 minutes. That's a long time for me. Especially now that I'm using a bigger brush, you'd think that it would be a shorter time, but it's definitely a shorter time painting, but it's a longer time to mix all the paint. That's what's taking the time. So I'm going back to those very saturated places that were originally orange and seeing, I put a little bit of yellow and orange in to see could I saturate them even more. Now I've got to clean the palette. It's almost like I have to, now that everything's blocked in, it's like I have to, okay, start just as if I sat down for the first time. Now what? So I'm going to mix up a gray, again, cerulean blue, Naples yellow, and a permanent rose. I need to make that shadow underneath the mug darker. It's not much darker, it's just a little bit darker. So there's more blue in that gray than there was originally in order to achieve a little bit of darkness. And then there's that radiating light that comes off. So as soon as I did that, I was able to see that the rim, the upper rim of the cup was exactly the same color and value. So I plugged that in. Anytime I see a relationship that I can capitalize on, I'm going to do it. And then I looked inside the cup and could see just the slightest shift. And so I put that in as well, keeping it neutral and keeping it mostly a yellowish gray. I want that handle to kind of disappear. You know, I did a video not too long ago about lost and found edges, and I want to lose some edges here. So, ooh, I really like the way that looks right there. But I probably didn't leave it that way. Knowing me, I didn't. Darn it. Because I like the handle where it is right now. It's ambiguous, but I'm sure I fiddled with it. That's always the way. Nope, stay away from the handle, stay away from the handle. Nope, she didn't stay away. I didn't. But now, you know what? I'm glad I went in there because there were some saturated blues that were showing up from the sky, and I wanted to, you know, like I said, if I see it, even if it doesn't have to make a lot of sense, but if I see it, I'm going to paint it. If I see it and it doesn't make sense in my brain, then I'm not going to paint it. And that's why that whole mishmash of where the handle meets the mug is not included in this painting. I kind of like where it is right now. I wonder why I didn't stop right here. Well, there must be a reason. We're getting near the end of the painting. Gosh, this always happens to me. I wish I'd stopped right here, but I didn't. So I must have felt there needed to be an adjustment in the background. I know why I did that. I didn't want there to look like there was a arbitrary line between the tabletop and the background. I wanted it to melt into space. So that in the end was a good decision. I'm not going to criticize myself for that. But I can see there's more video to come, so I'm going to go. I'm sure there'll be something I won't forgive myself for at some point here. That's always the case. Before we finish this video, I just want to say that many people thank you for watching these. People like to watch these, and about 60 to 80% of you don't subscribe. If you happen to feel generous today, hit the subscribe button. That'd be really helpful for me. And let's see. And I plan on doing some live videos soon, or having I'm thinking about having a live, Zoom class. But that's all being decided in my own head. No permanent decisions have been made yet. But if you do decide to subscribe, I would just thank you very much. All right, so what I did was I didn't feel like the juice was saturated enough, not bright enough for what I wanted. And so, here's a mistake. I remember doing this. I put that edge in. I thought, don't put the edge in. That was a mistake. I wish that had just floated off. It was fine just the way it was. But no, I couldn't leave well enough alone. All right, one unforgivable out of 48 minutes is pretty good. So as always, please subscribe. Remember to keep the whites of your paper white. So as always, remember to keep the whites of your paper white, your paint's wet, ask for value, mix for color. And like I said earlier, please join my YouTube channel. You can also find me at joemackenzie.com. and I will see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.